Alright, let's dive into something that's been making headlines recently. WestJet flight attendants going on strike. Now, on the surface, this might seem like just another labor dispute, but personally I think there's a lot more to unpack here. What makes this really interesting is the ripple effect it has on thousands of travelers, essentially leaving them stranded. It's not just about the flight attendants and their demands. It's about the broader impact on people's lives, travel plans, and even the economy. From my perspective, this situation highlights the delicate balance between workers' rights and the services we often take for granted. First off, let's talk about why strikes like this happen. In my opinion, it's often a last resort for employees who feel their concerns aren't being heard. What many people don't realize is that these decisions aren't made lightly. Flight attendants, like any other workers, have legitimate grievances, whether it's about pay, working conditions, or job security. If you take a step back and think about it, these are the people who ensure our safety and comfort during flights. So when they feel undervalued, it raises a deeper question. How do we prioritize the well-being of essential workers in industries that rely so heavily on them? Now, the immediate impact is obvious. Stranded travelers, canceled flights, and a lot of frustration. But what this really suggests is a systemic issue in how airlines handle labor disputes. Personally, I think there's a lack of proactive communication and negotiation. It's almost like both sides are waiting for the other to blink, and in the meantime, it's the passengers who suffer. One thing that immediately stands out is how vulnerable the travel industry is to disruptions like this. We're talking about a sector that's still recovering from the pandemic, and now this? It's a double whammy that could have long-term consequences. A detail I find fascinating is how this strike affects not just major hubs but also smaller regional areas. I mean, look at the list of locations impacted from Atlantic Canada to Northern Ontario and even places like Regina and Saskatoon. These aren't just big cities, they're communities where air travel might be the only reliable way to get around. What this really implies is that the impact isn't uniform. It disproportionately affects people in areas with fewer alternatives. From my perspective, this adds another layer of complexity to the issue. It's not just about urban centers, but about accessibility for everyone. If you think about the broader trend, this isn't an isolated incident. We've seen strikes and labor disputes across various industries lately, from healthcare to logistics. What makes this really interesting is how it reflects a larger shift in the workforce. People are increasingly unwilling to settle for less, and they're demanding better treatment. In my opinion, this is both a challenge and an opportunity. It's a challenge for companies that need to adapt, but it's also an opportunity to rethink how we value essential workers. Personally, I think this could be a turning point in how labor disputes are handled in the future. So, where does this leave us? Well, for one, it's a reminder that the services we rely on are often held together by people who deserve fair treatment. It also raises questions about how we as consumers can support workers in these situations. Should we be more understanding of delays? Should we push for better labor practices? These are tough questions, but they're worth asking. What this really suggests is that we're all connected in this, whether we're flying for work, leisure, or necessity. And maybe, just maybe, this strike is a wake-up call to reevaluate how we prioritize the people behind the services we depend on. Closing thought, strikes like this aren't just about the workers or the companies, they're about all of us. How we respond as a society says a lot about our values. So, the next time you hear about a strike, take a moment to think about the bigger picture. Because in the end, it's not just about getting from point A to point B, it's about how we treat each other along the way. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.